If you work in rehabilitation or healthcare, you have almost certainly heard some version of this. There has to be something structurally wrong. It wouldn't hurt this much otherwise. Or perhaps my back is out. My shoulder is catching. This muscle is so tight that it must be pulling everything else out of place. The difficult part is that the patient is not being unreasonable. Pain feels physical. It feels as though something is coming directly from a particular body part. So it's completely understandable that someone would interpret a strong or persistent sensation as evidence that something is damaged, displaced, or just not working properly. So how do we respond without dismissing what the patient feels, but also without reinforcing a frightening structural explanation that might not actually fit the full picture? And this is what we're looking at in today's video. I'm Jen Summers and I work across massage, rehabilitation and coaching, and I'm currently studying sports injury rehabilitation. A large part of my work involves helping people make sense of pain in a way that is honest, reassuring and useful. This video is for rehabilitation and healthcare professionals, therapists, coaches and students who have wanted to have better conversations around pain. And before we go further, I want to make one thing clear: structures matter. Tissues can be injured, joints can become irritated, pathology exists, and appropriate assessment, screening and referral are essential. This is not an argument that every pain problem is just the nervous system, or that we should ignore symptoms and tell people to think more positively. But pain is not a direct measure of tissue damage. The amount of pain someone experiences does not always tell us exactly how much damage is present. Pain can continue after the original injury has healed, or when a structural finding does not fully explain the symptoms. We therefore need to hold two truths at the same time. The first is that the person's pain is real. The second is that their first explanation for it might not be the only possible explanation, and this is where conversations can go wrong. We might agree immediately with the structural story. Yes, your pelvis is out, that muscle is full of knots, your spine is worn away. These explanations can feel satisfying because they give the patient a clear answer. But if I believe my body is unstable, trapped, or wearing away, movement may begin to feel dangerous. Normal soreness or stiffness may become further proof that I have caused damage, and I may become dependent on someone repeatedly correcting or releasing me. Or we can swing too far in the opposite direction. Your scan is completely normal. There is nothing wrong. It's just your brain. That may be intended as reassurance, but it rarely feels reassuring to someone who is genuinely hurting. If a person feels pain every time they bend, walk, or reach, telling them nothing is wrong can sound as though we don't actually believe them. Once they feel dismissed, they are unlikely to engage with our explanation, however accurate we think it is. So what can we do instead? Now, I use an approach with 5 parts. First, listen. Listen before you explain anything. When someone says, I know there is something wrong with my back, ask them what makes them think that. Was there a particular injury? Were they shown something in a scan? Did a previous therapist tell them they were misaligned? Does the area look unstable, tight, or blocked? Are they frightened because the pain has become more intense? Their structural belief usually has a history. If we do not understand where it came from, we are trying to replace an explanation without understanding what it actually means to them first. Second, validate the experience without automatically confirming the interpretation. You might say, I can understand why that feels as though something's being trapped, or that restriction is very real and I can see why you would interpret it as the muscle being physically too short. We're acknowledging how they feel and we're not claiming to know exactly why they feel it. Validation does not mean agreeing with every conclusion. It means showing the person that their experience makes sense and that we are actually taking them seriously. Third, we want to ask permission before offering another explanation. So you might say, would it be all right if I suggested another possibility that could also contribute to what you're feeling? That one sentence changes the conversation. We are no longer simply correcting the patient. We are inviting them to explore another explanation with us. Fourth, we want to widen the explanation rather than replacing one absolute story with another. Imagine a patient saying, my back is incredibly tight, it needs releasing because it's pulling everything out of place. A response could look like this. It certainly feels tight and your movement is restricted today. There are several reasons that can happen. Sometimes a tissue is irritated, sometimes the muscles around an area increase their activity. Sometimes the nervous system becomes more protective and temporarily limits how far it is comfortable allowing us to move. That doesn't mean the tightness is imaginary, it means the sensation may be influenced by more than the physical length of the muscle. That gives the patient another option without demanding that they abandon everything they currently believe. It also avoids replacing your muscle is shortened with another overconfident statement, such as, it is definitely your brain protecting you. We should remain curious. What changes the sensation? Does the movement change with support? Does it change when the person moves more slowly or warms up? Does it vary with fatigue, stress, sleep, confidence, or the situation? Can they access more movement when the task feels safer? These are not tricks to prove that the pain is not real. They are opportunities to show that the experience is changeable, and changeability can be reassuring. The fifth part is to make the explanation useful. Patients don't want a better theory, they want to know what they can actually do about it. We could continue. The good news is that if this restriction can change, we have something to work with. Rather than aggressively fighting the area, we can gradually build movement, strength, and confidence and see what helps your system become less protective. And that shifts the conversation from what is broken towards what helps this become more comfortable and capable. Explanations influence behavior. If we describe the body as fragile, unstable, or damaged, the plan can become centered around protection and correction. Whereas if we describe it as adaptable, while still respecting symptoms and genuine pathology, the plan can become centered around building capacity. This does not mean promising that pain will disappear quickly, and it does not mean telling someone to just push through everything. It doesn't mean giving every patient a lengthy neuroscience lecture. I'm guilty. And often the best explanation is simply the one that helps a person make sense of their experience and take the next manageable step. So when a patient tells you that something must be structurally wrong, try not to rush into either agreement or correction. Listen to where the belief came from, validate that experience, and ask permission to offer another possibility, which will help you widen the explanation, then connect it to something practical that you can explore together. The aim is not to win an argument about pain science. The aim is to help the patient feel understood, less threatened, and more able to just move forwards. In the next video, we are going to examine one of the most common structural beliefs in more detail, which is, if a muscle feels tight, it must be physically short and I need to stretch it harder. We're going to look at why the sensation of tightness, restricted range of movement, and actual tissue length are not necessarily the same thing, and how to explain that without the patient feel as though you're denying what they can feel. You can watch that in the next video using the link on screen and in the description. And if you are a rehabilitation or healthcare professional who wants a deeper understanding of pain and more practical ways to explain it, you'll also find the details of my full online pain course below.